Welcome to Dentistry Unmasked. I'm Pam Maragliano-Muniz. With me, as always.
Turns out, I'm still David Rice. Pam, we've got two great guests today, don't we?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay. So many people graduate from dental school, and it's like you become a dentist, and you think that your life is now to just like live within the four walls of your operatory, and then you're there, and you're like, well, that's my life. And that doesn't have to be your life, right? So with us today, again, Dr. Brian Novey, and with us for the first time, Dr. Ashleigh Robinson. Welcome.
Woo. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have both of you here. Now, you have a different story. You guys took a different path, and you look pretty happy. So I want to hear about it. Ashleigh, you go first.
Well, thanks. I did take a different path. I think most dentists and most patients need a dentist who practices in private practice, so it makes sense that most people would do that. But there are a lot of patients who don't benefit from that type of setting. So my practice is actually a mobile practice where I work out of my home. I wake up every morning, I go into my home office, I pack up my mobile equipment, and then I go meet patients in their home, because a lot of patients can't get into the four walls of a dental practice. A lot of patients have mobility problems, or maybe they're older adults or have special needs. So my practice is a house call practice. And I used to call it a mobile practice, but that can be confusing because then some people think of a mobile unit or van.
Yeah.
But the truth is my patients could never get into a mobile van. A lot of them are in hospice care, they're in a hospital bed or their wheelchair. So I go directly into their home and I turn the entire world into my office instead of four walls. So my every day is different for me. I get to stop by the post office or the bank if I need to in the middle of appointments, make phone calls in the car, like a very flexible lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think it's very valuable to patients too.
It's
Heck yeah.
incredibly
Are you
valuable.
kidding me? That's, yeah.
It's still patient care, but it's in a different way.
I don't want to jump.
Jump in?
Well, I was just talking to someone about this the other night because I have recently been exposed to the traumatic foster care system and foster group homes. And these kids are being denied access to care because they're living in a group home where there is no responsible adult who can take off time from work, get them to a dental office for effective preventive care, and these kids wind up as, I'm going to say, dentally disabled adults who have never received care because no one like you was able to go in to a foster group home and provide care. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to deliver care to the foster community who doesn't have adults who are looking out for I'm just going to say it, they don't always have adults looking out for the best interest. If they have a really great relationship with a social worker, fine. But oftentimes, they're transient patients in and out. So kudos to you for taking care of this. But like hospice patients, my gosh, that was incredibly rewarding to me. I talk about that in my lectures about the hospice patients. They're amazing.
Thanks.
You
They
can't
are.
recline in the chair, but you get them home in their lazy boy recliner. Yeah, I got them recline. It's wonderful.
Comfortable
I want to
there.
know more about, can I ask her questions? Am I allowed to ask questions?
You're allowed to ask questions.
This is a rebel podcast. We're just
boy.
doing
Okay,
it.
all right. So when I've gone into patients, because I've had patients who have aged out, go into hospice, they call the office, we're homebound, we can't come in anymore. Fine, no problem. I can come to you. Pack up my doctor's bag. I've got my loops. I go into their house. I have a couple tray covers. I go into the kitchen, get a cup of water, an empty cup. So I've got my spittoon, I got my water source. I got a toothbrush. I got Live Fresh gel. I brush their teeth. And I always tell people, no one's expecting to do endo in their living room, right? We have amazing chemical therapeutics that we can apply to patients' teeth, stabilize them, and make sure that the end of life is comfortable for them.
Yeah.
So what is your kind of, I just have to know, because I don't know if we're going to talk later today, what's the shtick that you go through when you walk into someone's home? Obviously, if it's a new patient you've ever met before, they're just completely foreign to this idea that I'm literally getting the type of care that my grandfather and grandmother used to get, where I have a house call from my doctor. This is patients eat that up.
They
So
do,
what's
well,
your
especially
what's
the
your
families.
Yeah,
so
sure.
when I meet a new patient, they're either calling for one of two reasons. It's someone calling who just heard about an in-home dentist, and they say, I haven't been in 8 or 10 years. Nothing's wrong, but can you just come do an exam? And then in that case, I'll do comp oral and bite wings, and we'll take like an inventory.
So you have a nomad?
Right? Yep.
Taking them, okay.
And then in other cases, people call and they say, listen, I'm really calling you with a problem. My loved one's in hospice. They probably have a million dental needs, but they're in pain. Can you address this acute issue? So it's either one or two when I meet a new patient. And my thing is, when I go into the house, I tell people, everyone's concerned. Everyone's so polite. They're like, can I bring the lamp over here? Do you need a new table cleared? I say,
No,
don't
get away
worry
from
about
me.
it. Right. I say,
Don't
just be
help me.
comfortable and I'll work my way into your living room, whatever that means, right? If I have to clear a table, I will. If I bring my own little pack out or something, I do. And you're exactly right about the procedures. Like I always explain to people, I am a substitute for no care. I am not a substitute for going to the dental office. So if you can go to a dental office for your veneers, for your implants, for your endo, like you absolutely should. That's where the CBCTs live. That's where the CEREC lives. Like I'm never going to bring that into someone's 3-story walk-up, right? But in their house, I can do a lot of minimal things, like minimal restorative, easy, simple extractions, denture adjustments, prophies, smoothing sharp edges. You mentioned for patients in hospice, people are just trying to enjoy the last couple weeks of their life, and they have this broken tooth that's cutting their tongue, where maybe if they were 25, we would take that tooth out. But if they're just trying to enjoy the end of life with loved ones, smooth that sucker down. Like that's, it's interesting, the ethical dilemmas that kind of pop up and the different ways you treat patients depending on their specific situation.
Good for you.
I love that.
Thanks.
Good for you.
So what's your average day like?
Yeah.
I feel like so most of us are going back to work on Monday. What are you doing Monday?
I am seeing 3 people, usually at 10:30, at 12:30, and at 2:30. It can be different. You know, some patients request that I do all their work at one appointment, right? So maybe I only have 1 or 2 visits per day, usually 3. I can squeeze in 4 if I'm doing a denture delivery or something like that. And you just drive around, and I try to schedule my appointments where my patients live near one another to make it convenient. I almost feel like a real estate agent sometimes. That's what my father does. So he'll schedule his appointments neighborhood by neighborhood, and that's what I try to do with mine. And I'm usually in my car by 10 a.m., usually at home by 4. And then when I get home, I'll sterilize, unpack, and everything else.
It's a great day.
I would love to be able to stop by the bank in the middle of my day.
Or make a phone call that not everyone's listening to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a different life for sure. But Brian, tell us more about what you do.
I'm so blown away. I don't.
You're like, I don't remember.
I don't want to.
I want to know more about you. I spent a lot of time writing recently. I just published a gigantic best practices report for the Association for State and Territorial Dental Directors on the prevention and management of early childhood caries. So just finished up that project. I'm the president of the National Camber Coalition. I teach. A lot of speaking right now. This is kind of, it's the big speaking time of year. There's a dental meeting every single week right now.
Gotcha.
And so right now I'm just kind of floating, kind of get this big speaking fall schedule out, and then, and go back into full-time patient care, which is hard when you're out speaking because, so getting back to, I have very untraditional road after school. So I was recruited to teach dental materials at a dental school right before I graduated, and started doing that. And then my department chair said, we need you to teach cariology. And I went, no. No one can make that.
Out, though?
No, you can't make cariology interesting. And now I talk about cariology everywhere. So I do a lot of consulting for manufacturers, writing, clinical practice, speaking, teaching, and traveling.
Well, you
I
have
spend
a
more
new
time
teaching,
traveling.
but you have a new teaching.
I do. I forgot about that. So I am very excited to be I'm not the first faculty member because the dean and the associate dean have been appointed, but the university, or Pikeville University in Appalachia. So I'm going to be the cariology professor. And we've got, so I've only had one call, but I'm super excited. So I'm going to be the cariology professor in rural Appalachia. The poverty rate is 57%. They're building a big dental school and dental clinic in rural Appalachia in a small town. We're going to bring patients in. But I'm going to talk to you more because I'm thinking, so we're going to, and this is my concept, so if Dr. Stein, if you're listening to this as Dean of Pikeville University, or is it University of Pikeville? I should learn that. I apologize. I will know that soon. So we're going to tie dental students' hands behind their back, and before they ever are allowed to touch a handpiece on a patient, they're going to learn how to take care of patients using their own mouths and focusing on behavior change and focusing on minimally invasive dentistry and getting patients healthier. Because I'm thinking, gosh, you go into Appalachia, I don't know that we should be thinking minimally invasive dentistry in Appalachia. We have to get the disease out of that population. That's going to require a lot of extractions and a lot of removable. And once you get the disease controlled in the adult population, I think you can then expect some changes to be seen in the pediatric population. But I think it's going to be super, super exciting to see what happens.
A lot of opportunity there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people are like, why would you want to go teach? And I'm like, are you kidding me? What could possibly go wrong? What are we going to do? Lower the disease burden in the I think the 51st state in edentalism. I mean, But the question's going to become, do you save money when you preserve teeth? Because, we in dentistry assume prevention is the way you save money, prevent the disease. But in patients who have the disease, it doesn't make sense to try to prevent it. We all know you're going to be restoring recurrent decay the rest of that patient's life. So how do we got to turn off the faucet first, and then figure out how to fill up all those glasses and move all that water somewhere else? I'm tickled. I'm tickled.
That's exciting.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how this all sort of starts weaving together when you think about it.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, I want to know more about how do we teach these students to do what you do and go into the hollers in Appalachia and talk to the community? Because all these kids are going to be recruited from high school we're going into high schools to recruit kids to be dentists and say, there's a future for you in Appalachia. You can be a healthcare provider. Do you want to be a dentist? You're a senior in high school right now? Let's get you into dental school.
That's amazing. And you're absolutely right to go and speak to, young high school students, college students, dental students. For me, I'm also on a mission to recruit more dentists to do the kind of treatment that I do, whether it's locally in my community or elsewhere. So I've started trying to talk to younger dentists, dental students. They reach out on Instagram, social media, and I just developed a course that they could purchase to learn how to have this kind of business
Look at her.
model.
She develops a course people can purchase.
Well,
just giving it away.
We should do a podcast
People
episode
text
on
message
this
me
or
like,
something.
sure, I'll help you with that patient.
Yeah. I answer questions all the time too, but sometimes people want to meet frequently or they want to have a long call, and I'm like, listen, this is everything you need. If you need, take it at your own pace, do your own thing, and it's something that I wish I had when I was getting started. Because, first of all, we know that they don't teach a lot about business in dental school. We know that because I always wanted to do good, I went into dental school to reach the underserved. I assumed I had to work full-time in public health. Well, then I did that, and I realized I can't I can't keep doing that. It was very taxing. So it's something that it's a career I never even knew existed, let alone knew how to implement. So it's you should talk to dental students and younger students about how to get involved with these things, because a lack of mentorship and leadership can just confuse everybody or make everything harder. So if you know something that they don't know, you definitely should go teach them that.
Well, for the dental students listening to this, I hope that you're actually realizing there is more to life than just going into a private practice and sitting chairside, because you're going to learn very, very soon after doing this. I don't know how long it took you or you. I think I know how long. You get to a point where life, I did not go to all this school to anesthetize, drill, and fill, and move on to the next patient. Anesthetize, drill, fill, move on to the next patient. My back is killing me for the day. I'm going to chiropractors at lunchtime 3 times a week. Then I'm going to go get a massage once a month. And I'm like, oh, my back.
Broken.
Yeah. And yet we continue to do it because we know we just have these compassionate hearts and we have empathy and we have the ability to help people. How do you say, no, I can't? So I do what she did. Do what she did. Start your own practice, mobile.
Well, I'm going to
No,
jump in
because you're
for
taking
a second.
care. You're improving access to care. And okay, I'm sorry.
No. You are improving access to care, but I will tell you,
Is this mine?
that's
mine?
yours. Yes, I'm going to speak upon for the private practitioner, because I'm a prosthodontist. If I can't do it well, I don't want to do it at all.
You're a great prosthodontist, by the way.
Love ya.
That's so good.
So, okay, I feel like sometimes for us in private practice, we see people who have a special need or need more or could benefit from a home visit. And I think a lot of us feel, well, if I can't do this restoration like I know I can do this restoration,
Right.
I don't want to do it at all. And I think that what you're providing and what you're describing is that you don't have to do your AACD dentistry on every single person, that sometimes you can provide something that they need. And so I'm hearing you and I'm thinking, wow, this could inspire a side hustle, say for somebody who's in private practice 3, 2.5, 4 days a week, and then maybe reserve that time for, the patients that have aged out of your practice.
Exactly.
I've got a lot of patients that have aged out, and it's like, bye, see you in your obituary.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happens sometimes.
They
And
don't teach us in dental school that our patients are going to die on us. They teach us if your
That's
patient
true.
dies within a certain period of time being in the office, you must report yourself for having that adverse outcome. But they don't, you fall in love with these patients and they wind up in hospice, and you can't just abandon them. So, I think there is a natural transition to dentist doing what you do, because I wound up in not a pediatric practice, but I wound up in the practice I grew up in, and the dentist handed me all of my Sunday school teachers. And how do you walk into the little ladies who taught you the Bible and sell them veneers.
Right.
And I was like, and he goes, all these big crowns, restorations, just you know how to take care. I'm like, yeah, I can't sell my Sunday school teacher all this cosmetic dentistry, and they don't need it. But then as they age out, like I can't come back to the practice. Do you just say, well, sucks to be you, I guess? No, you did it. I mean, though when that happens to these dental students out of school a couple years out, it's going to be really easy for them to say, I remember that podcast, and I could take services to them. And with things like silver diamine fluoride and Keratin, heck, you can do a heck of a lot with Dical even.
A ton.
Okay.
And you're right about a side hustle. That's how my business started. I was working full-time in public health, but it was a 4-day-a-week.
Where are you,
full-time.
Ashleigh?
I'm in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is, it was a 4-day-a-week full-time public health gig, but I had 1 day a week to play with. So when I got out of residency and started working, I was in private practice to get that experience and save up some cash. And then once I did that, then I could start this project as a side hustle 1 day a week. And then as I got busier, I dropped days. So that's kind of how it went. So anybody could do this, even as someone who loves chairside dentistry, because the truth is, as a house call dentist, there's a lot of procedures I don't get to do that I really like to do. I like to do surgical extractions. Well, I haven't, no, not typically.
11/12.
I love
On
like
number 31.
certain easy endo I'm talking about.
No,
like
32.
nothing hard. But there's there's opportunities for me to pick up like temp shifts for people who are on leave, for me to get my hands wet doing things I don't want to forget how to do. But yes, it can absolutely be a side hustle or a regular part of somebody's chairside practice. It's so flexible. It can be anything that anyone needs it to be. But what you're talking about, people aging out of practice, I just heard a heartbreaking story from a gentleman, which kind of lit me up again this weekend. He is a general dentist with a private practice who just kindly decided to make somebody's mother a denture at home. This is 20, 30 years ago. And then he said he never really followed up with her. He made her the denture, and the daughter would come in, and the daughter would say, my mom's doing well. He'd say, how's your mom? She's doing well. And then 10 years later, after he made her that denture, she's 90-something, and the daughter comes in and says, do you mind looking in my mom's mouth? She says everything's fine, but she has dementia, and she's not eating. And he goes and looks, and isn't it squamous cell carcinoma from a sore spot that hadn't been adjusted for who knows how many years? And it's not anyone's fault, not his fault, but he felt this way. And I told him, I said, that's not your fault. They didn't ask you to come over, and they didn't come in, or you didn't know. But these things happen, and people do. They lose track of patients. Patients age out. And one of my biggest referral sources is from dental offices in my community of patients who have aged out. They'll say, I love Mrs. So-and-so. She's been coming here for 30 years. Her kids all come here. Do you mind seeing her at home because she can't come in anymore? So it is good to follow up with people for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? So I want to be like, all right, cool. So next week I'm going to call my patients that I haven't seen. I'm going to be like, hey, I can come over if you want to. I'll do that. Salem Dental Arts on the road. Let's do it. It's not really a reality because you have to have equipment that can be transportable. I mean, obviously you mentioned the Nomad, so you can take imaging. I'm imagining an intraoral scanner would be bomb for something like this.
Amazing.
So,
what you
intraoral
could do with
camera.
it. Yeah.
And yes, like what is
Use
your...
mouthwash?
Yes, I use
I'm sure you
mouthwash.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what is mouthwash if you're watching?
I didn't
Are you
mean
watching?
to be a plug. I was just like, well, that's got to be. That's what I would use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is so? All right. So somebody wants to get started. Like, how do you get started? What are you said smoothing a. Do you do that with a lab hand piece that you can kind of place? Like, how? Like, what's the?
What's your gear?
What's your kit?
Yeah.
101.
I'm
There's a
assuming
lot of
it's an
ways.
aseptico setup.
Well, very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's you can do something like that. You can go and get the portable units that have the suction and the high speed and everything else, and then that allows you to do a lot of work. And so that's, I think, an ideal way if you're going to be a full-time house call dentist or do this long term. But even if you're just like my friend who 30 years ago, what he did is he brought a little Dremel, and that's what he used in the house to adjust the dentures and things like that. So you can get started with a Dremel and some slow speed attachment units to that, or some friction grip attachments, and do things like smoothing sharp edges. Now, I don't recommend doing full restorative with that or anything, but as far as getting started or doing something, that's probably like the easiest, lowest barrier to entry right there. I know some house call dentists who don't use any kind of hand piece at all or high speed. Their services are limited to things like exams or prophies with scalers. So it's actually interesting to talk about this because it's not only uncommon, but because it's uncommon, it's very unregulated. There's no standard for what every house call dentist does. So a house call dentist might say they're a house call dentist and they primarily apply SDF, do routine like preventative maintenance, or they could just be like, I'm the person who visits the adult care facility and does the monthly exams. So there's a wide range, and getting started, I mean, you could start there and then work your way up and invest in more equipment and offer more services as time goes on. But there's a lot of ways to get started.
Do you have a relationship with another office, which is like your hub where you go to sterilize your instruments after you use them? So you
don't. Not currently, no.
So I mean, so you have like the licensure that you have through the state of New York. Is there, what is that? What category where do you fit into that? I don't even know how licensure would work for portable dentistry, but because you don't have an office location.
Nope, I work out of my home, and I have my sterilizer. My first year in practice, I did when I was doing it as a side hustle when I worked full-time in public health. My buddy let me go into his office on nights and weekends to use his autoclave.
Okay.
And then, again, as you get busier and you're able to accumulate more equipment, I bought my own, and now I'm at home. And it's like it's on regular, but I'm still doing the spore testing. Like, you still have to be ethical about everything. But, yeah, it's not exactly anything that no OSHA inspectors coming into my home office. Although they could. I mean, it's clean. It's great. But, like, there's no, it's uncommon and therefore unregulated and a lot of opportunities. So you have to find somebody who really knows or really cares and who you can trust and knows what they're doing, because although it is possible for people to do it as a side hustle or to work chairside and do it, it's nice if you find someone who really only does house calls, because then they're going to be very dedicated to making sure that they know, that everything's on the up and up.
Yeah.
I would imagine that a really easy thing to maybe implement would be glass ionomer. Do you use a lot of glass? I know.
Yes.
I know. I'm sorry.
Wait a
Seriously?
second. Are we asking the biomaterials
Seriously?
guy?
Glass ionomer?
Oh, what should I be using? Oh man, this is why I'm here. I need to learn some things from you.
What glass ionomer are you using?
Fuji.
Which one?
I liked you.
What is that?
I knew I liked you.
Oh, okay, good. All right, cool. I was
Well,
like, wait a
I'm
second.
an Equia Forte guy myself,
okay,
but
okay.
but yeah, any Fuji. You know what is everyone says Fuji? Oh, heck yeah, Fuji.
They have an auto mix. You don't have to
Yes.
be a church raider.
Yes, yeah, Fuji Automix. Yeah.
It's a very common
That
thing I use.
that's a sealant material I think more people need to pick up and use, because people are afraid to do sealants with glass ionomer, but with that paste resin modified glass ionomer product, you don't need to triturate. You can squirt it right into the tooth. I don't know why more people don't use it as a sealant material. And Fuji 2LC is one of the best performing sealant materials in the systematic reviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I was taught well.
you were.
Good.
Where'd you go to dental school?
Buffalo.
Well,
Buffalo.
Or I've never left. I mean, I'm here in Orlando for this conference just for the week. I'm not moving here, but yeah. I'm one of those born, raised, never leaving Buffalo people.
And
Go
Buffalo's
Bills.
better for it, clearly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Lucky Buffalo.
Lucky Buffalo. Indeed. So one of the things I think you both were saying without necessarily saying it, it's something I picked up at Pankey early on days, and I was really grateful for that, was appropriate care, as opposed to everybody getting ideal. And I think it's easy for all of us in dentistry, but especially young dentists and students, to get locked into ideal. And sometimes ideal is not a thing. And then we beat ourselves up, or we just don't treat that patient, because that makes me lesser of a dentist, because now I'm no longer doing ideal anymore. So let me just make that someone else's issue instead
That's a
of
good point.
taking on that responsibility and doing some real good for people.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
everybody's different.
Yeah.
So we're running low on time. I hate this
Are we?
because this goes by so quickly.
It does.
I know, it's
It's
crazy.
been like 2 minutes.
I know. It's insane.
I haven't even talked.
I know you didn't even say anything.
I heard nothing.
I know.
Well, I turned you off.
Let's
Oh, okay.
The mic's
Well,
issue, it's not
you
you.
told me you couldn't hear me. Okay. I thought-
Yeah, it's been a whole lip syncing episode.
So
What?
clearly,
Is this on?
Are you? Should I be hearing things in here? I'm just, what?
Just four voices.
Your editor's gonna.
I have Jay-Z
Never get that guy
piped
out
through
again.
your earbuds there. No, so clearly you could take another path, and you can do this in a way that's lucrative.
Can I say, because I didn't say, because now that we're thinking more about this, I just want to add one
Yeah.
thing. I think the career path that most dental students don't realize is out there is if you have if there's something that you graduate dental school and you're passionate about, write a paper about it.
Yeah.
Take the time to write a paper about it, because you will get your name out there as someone who is a thought leader in this area. You'd be very surprised at how far one little paper can take your career.
Oh.
It can launch it.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a book? There's a book. Some guy wrote a book.
Some guy wrote a book.
I've been reading this book. It's called "Is Everyone Smiling But You?" I've been just picked up this book and
It's-
it looks really. Wait, you wrote that? That's.
I know that
Is there a
name.
different David Rice? Not a different.
There's a few out there. It's a fairly, it's like Smith, Rice, there's
Okay.
a bunch of us. But turns out there's an editor sitting at this table. I forgot.
But my career started
Yeah.
with writing too. I mean, after the
Totally.
Adult Preventive Practice of the Year, it started, really took off when I started writing.
Yeah.
So I think that's exceptional advice.
It's great
Write
advice.
about
It doesn't
Thank you.
go away, right? So
Right.
let's face it, social media platforms change, things change, but writing and getting published, it's foundational.
Yeah.
Yes.
Timeless.
Email me. So, yeah, so that's great advice. Now, obviously we only have a short time together. Where can people follow you? How can people maybe take courses from you? Your courses, like how can people follow you and learn more?
I would encourage anyone who's interested in house call dentistry to visit ResiDENTALMovement.com. It's like a play on the word residential, ResiDENTALMovement.com. And there you can find links to podcast episodes, articles,
Is that your
courses.
website?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If you want to get in touch with me, my cell phone number is 909-856-0699. Or go to holymolar.com. Or actually, holymolar.com doesn't work right now. It's WHOLLYMOLAR.net. I got to contact GoDaddy when I get home.
He will text you back.
Yeah, I will try. Unless you text message me while I'm speaking at like SmileCon, then I'm not going to text message back.
No.
Do we have parting presents?
We do. We have gifts for you. We have official Dentistry Unmasked AirTags to share with you guys.
They're
As a
legit.
Thank you for
much.
joining us.
Yeah, you guys are amazing.
Is this so you can track wherever we are in the world?
You know, so far everybody's picking up on that.
I know.
We were trying to slip that under
know
the
what we need
radar.
to do?
I would
We
like
need
you
to
to
attach this
stick
to
it to
my
your
phone.
phone.
That even works in Appalachia.
So exciting. In case
Yeah.
I drop it,
Thank
might
you
drop my
guys.
phone.
Thank you for having me, really.
We're so
Thank
glad
you.
you are here.
Thank you for
thank
being
you.
here. All right, everybody. We will see you again. You guys enjoy SmileCon. And for Dentistry Unmasked, we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening to the show this week. And thanks to our guests and sponsors on this episode.
Please check out our social media at Dr. Pamela_Maragliano and at Dental Economics Official.
Or you can check me out at Ignite DDS or at Dr. David Rice.
And go to dentaleconomics.com to receive dental economics. You can choose to receive DE in print or digitally, and you can also get the details of our Principles of Practice Management conference on our website.
If you have topics or guests or anything you'd like to talk about on the show, send us an email to dentistryunmaskedpodcast@gmail.com, and we will do our very best to make it happen. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.